Welcome back to our next episode of Meat Market Minutes. We've got a holiday version of our poultry market, and we're going to have that from David Anderson. So I'll go ahead and just let him take it away. And David, if you're ready, go ahead.
Thanks, Justin. You know, 'tis the season, I guess. So we're going to talk turkey for our poultry couple of minutes here and just completely ignore the whole chicken and egg side of things and just focus on the gobble here. So with that, let's jump right in. Heck, you know, when we get to thinking about Thanksgiving, which is really our whole, you know, our turkey markets, I find it to be a fascinating thing. And none of us really spend a whole lot of time on it till we really hit this time of the year. But, you know, this is obviously this great picture from Norman Rockwell. I think the painting's entitled Freedom from Want. It was really kind of that classic, was what we think about when we're thinking Thanksgiving. We're thinking a whole bird. We certainly are thinking about our family gathering. And you take a look at this, and given everything that's going on in our world today, I think this is a really pretty great picture of what we're all thinking and hoping we can do. And I think that also affects our turkey market. And so with that, you know, as we kind of think about what's going on in the turkey market, one of the things I find very interesting about it is it's really, we can think of it as two markets. This time of the year, we're really thinking about a whole bird market. The Thanksgiving holiday, whether you roast it or deep fry it or smoke it, whatever it is, that whole bird, that classic presentation. Yet throughout the year, we also have a whole market for turkeys that are dealing with breasts and delis, whether at grocery stores or actual delis and sandwich shops. All the different sandwich chains we go to are certainly big movers of turkey, particularly breast meat. And so we really have these two markets going on, yet at this time of the year, we're really focused on that whole bird. You know, if we look longer term in the turkey market, it's a sector that really has had some struggles in recent years with profitability, really changing demand, changing tastes and preferences. And by that, I mean, do we consumers have one at Thanksgiving and have another one at Christmas? Or do we start changing some of the things we're doing where maybe we buy fewer whole birds for that second holiday in the line and we try some different things? And also whether it's deli sections or sandwich shops, you know, the long-term profit of the industry has seen some struggles and really has been working to try to get supplies in line with demand and return back to some profitability. I think the other thing that's interesting about it is we look at retail pricing strategies of your local grocery store. There's so many different things that we try where turkeys become part of what they use to get you in the store, where you may buy a whole basket of all your fixings to go with it and you get a discount on your turkey. Or as what I've seen some this year, some turkey and ham combos where there's a discount on one if you buy the other one. And so you get all of these different retail pricing strategies, which really sort of creates a disconnect between what's going on in the production side and the wholesale market with what we as consumers face in the retail market. And I think the last thing we really have to focus on in terms of this market is coronavirus. You know, if we really do respond and we have a lot of us have smaller gatherings, does that change the mix of what we buy away from big birds to smaller birds? Maybe away from the big toms to the smaller hens, or even go into just doing a breast instead. So we've got this retail market uncertainty when the planning for what producers were going to produce was a long time ago, really long before we knew how long this was going to last and where we were going to be going into coronavirus. So, you know, I think that's really causes some uncertainty, which may also drive some more specials at the retail market. Maybe if retailers have some more big birds on hand, there might be some more specials going on the fly. So if we look at just a couple of charts, you know, it's pretty easy to see if we think about turkey production. It certainly is. There's some volatility throughout the year, yet we consistently produce turkeys within a ramp up in October, going into November to really hit that fresh market. And I think that's where our fresh market statistics of whole birds come into this total turkey production. But for the most part, we're meeting that food service needs throughout the year. And we're meeting supplies for going into cold storage for our frozen birds to hit peak consumption here at Thanksgiving. But the thing I would point out is we've been down a little more than 2% this year in terms of total turkey production. We're down pushing 8% here in basically since October. So we certainly see some decline in production this year versus a year ago and versus the 5-year average as well. You know, I mentioned we build up supplies in cold storage to hit the frozen market at the holiday. We're seeing frozen cold storage stocks certainly below a year ago and a little below the 5-year average. So going into the holiday too, we've got a little less in cold storage to fill the meat case bins at the store. So a little less production, a little less in cold storage, trying to get supplies in line with what demands might be. And if we look at the wholesale market, you know, we've got, I'm looking at whole hens here, 8 to 16 pound, again, our smaller birds. The toms look the same way, where we have wholesale prices about pushing 19% higher than they were a year ago. So a little less production, higher wholesale values. But again, thinking about that disconnect at retail for what we pay, you know, the most important thing at that grocery store, you know, it may not be that price matters a whole lot. What matters is to make sure there are turkeys in that bin when folks come to the store to buy. And that becomes the most important factor there at the grocery store, is that when we go to our store, there's turkeys there, and we're going to buy everything else there too. And so, you know, I think that's an interesting look at the turkey market going into the holidays this year, with some less supplies, some higher wholesale values going on, which is probably good for our big major turkey producing companies that are selling these birds as well, and maybe trying to get those supplies fixed a little better with demands. Yet if I had shown a chart of just breasts, if we look at wholesale turkey breasts, they continue to be well below a year ago and well below the 5-year average as well. So again, that struggle between these two markets going on. And I'll close here with another picture. Some of you may have seen those classic Rockwell paintings of the 4 freedoms that come from a FDR speech back when Franklin Roosevelt was president. Some artists have gone and updated these because, you know, our families don't necessarily look like the classic one that we remember, that we think of being a Thanksgiving picture in the bird. Some of our families look a lot different, and this is an updated version of that from about 2 years ago. And I thought I'd close with that you know, while lots of our families may look different, you know, that classic bird is still there, and that's really what we're looking for, is a holiday with as many of our friends and families that we can get together with. And so it's something that I think we're all looking forward to. And so I thought I'd close with this again, that updated picture of the classic one that most of us remember. With that, thanks for having me on for a little talking turkey today.
What a heartwarming wrap up, David. Thank you. I just want to point out that the guy holding the turkey has the same mustache that Dr. Martinez had about 2 weeks ago, or maybe was that 2 months ago at this point?
It's not that good. Mine was better. Dr. Anderson, I have a question. So with the lower amount of that we in the cold store or in the supply chain, it doesn't, in the graphs, it didn't seem like it was going to be that much of a difference in terms of the past average and then last year. Would it be safe for folks to not go ahead and assume that we're going to see a run on turkeys and there's going to be a shortage of turkeys like there was in the early 2020 version of toilet paper and paper towels? And I've been hearing some people say, well, we need to get turkeys because they're going to run out. They're going to run out just like everything else. What would you tell folks that kind of are in that train of thought?
You know, I don't think we're going to run out. I don't think folks need to worry about that at all. But, you know, if you're looking for a specific size, oftentimes at Thanksgiving, you go to the store and they may not have that size you were looking for. And so you may have to be flexible and do a different size. You know, we may have a case where we might have more of those big toms by the time you get to the store and fewer of the small ones. And so, right, you know, some flexibility there I think is probably pretty important, but I don't think it's going to be a case of running out. I think it's a case of maybe getting the size that you want. And I think you bring up another interesting point too, as we think about you know, maybe what consumers' demands are going to be at the store versus what got produced. If we look over the last 6 weeks, the national average live bird weight is a touch bigger than it was last year. And so those are fairly close together, which might imply, you know, you don't know on this average where that distribution is, but our weights are actually up just a little bit. And that might imply that, you know, maybe we were planning, maybe some folks were planning on, we're going to produce what we normally produce. We're going to see what happens with what people get, but we might actually have, you know, plenty of big birds on, say, you know, at the store as well.
Somebody else have any other questions?
Just a thought. I think it'll be interesting too how much Thanksgiving carryout we see this year. You know, a lot of restaurants have tried to push that over the last few years, and it's not this year sets up so nice for it because we're kind of accustomed to that in a lot of ways already. And a lot of folks probably don't need a full-size bird like in the past. I think it'll be interesting to see how many people utilize some sort of carryout or pickup aspect for part of their dinner anyway.
I've seen a lot of advertisements. I think that's a good point. I've seen a lot of ads from restaurants about, hey, get it ordered now. We're taking orders. And in fact, I saw one this morning from a barbecue place to get your whole smoked turkey. And today was the last day to order for Thanksgiving pickup. So, you know, I think that is an interesting case where we might see more of us go and do something like that. You know, I think that's a pretty interesting observation, Kenny.
Could it, if we have reduced demand at the not necessarily the restaurant, but if we have reduced demand at the grocery store, could we see maybe prolonged showcasing of turkeys moving throughout the fourth quarter and into the first quarter also? Could you see something like that happening?
You know, that's kind of interesting. It's, you know, depending on what movement is through the holidays, might there be more for, you know, we always used to think about turkeys also at Christmas and that basically the same, that big old bird. Yet I think that's some areas where some folks have been changing and trying new things. And so do we see that again? You know, I don't know. I think that's going to be a pretty interesting question as we see some of maybe the retail disappearance data from some industry groups and stuff, see actually what moves and what happens.
Great. This has been good discussion. I really, we don't get to spend much time on turkey, so this has been really good. We'll move on to our next recording. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll wrap up with beef in the next video. And thank you guys for joining us.